Sorry, it's a little crowded back here. We had to get creative here. Yeah, Sarah Kate Noftsinger, the VP and Chief Business Officer of Atlanta United. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Oh, let's get you all mic'd up. There you go.
I'm on, but you can't hear me.
Now we are ready to roll.
Yeah.
Well, first off, welcome back.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm back. Family's back. It's a different world now that I'm back here in Atlanta.
So what would the walk-up song be if you had a walk-up song? Because you played at Wake, you were in professional soccer here in this country. So what would your walk-up song be if you had a choice?
That's a hot seat question right there. Is it weird? I'm sitting there thinking Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in my head.
Oh,
okay.
Not. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
It has absolutely nothing to do with me or my life, but that's what I thought of first. So that's what you're going to hear.
Absolutely. I can absolutely see that as a walk-up
And
song.
I'm not West Philadelphia either.
No, but still, you're Wake Forest Demon Deacon born and raised, or close.
Yeah, we could change the words.
Yeah.
We could rewrite that for you. We can make that work.
I look forward to it.
Okay,
So
John's on that one. I'm going to let John handle that.
Yeah, all right,
So
lyrics.
we were talking about MLS and where things stand right now, where the league is. And one, just coming into a year where the Eastern Conference is crazy competitive, and there's a lot of really stacked teams. One of the reasons why is teams have more resources than they used to. And I think we've seen that firsthand in Atlanta with just that process of the league's growth. How have you seen it both inside when you were here in Atlanta before and then watching it from the outside when you were at Adidas?
Yeah, it's a loaded question, and it's a great conversation to have. So the investment that you're seeing in soccer in North America and the credibility that it's getting in the last, I'd say, 5 years has gone from like 0 to 100.
Yeah.
And so when I was here in Atlanta before, when I first took the job, what was that, 2015? Told us career suicide.
Really?
Like, hey, you're going to go work. One of my mentors said that to me. He's
Wow.
like, you're going to go take the job in soccer in Atlanta.
Wow.
That's career suicide skate. And I was like, yeah, wow. And I took that as, I listened to him, but I clearly didn't listen because I came. But I took it as a challenge too. And it's okay. Yeah, there is a truth to it. You're in football, American football, you're in basketball and baseball country. And so people doubted us, and then obviously with the help of all of you guys, we were able to build it and grow. And so even when I started Adidas, where, what was that, 2020, it's a German-based company, and it's a company that's built on soccer. And so it was a pretty cool atmosphere to be in, where the first thing that they would think about is, all right, if we're going to make this decision on this product or this, any decision, how is it going to affect football, like soccer? So, to me, to hear a company thinking that way. Now, granted, that was the conversation in Germany, and then it was about getting them to value soccer in North America.
Right.
And it wasn't an afterthought. And it was every year got a little bit better. And granted, you went through COVID, coming out of COVID, but every year you saw it increase a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And there would be something that they noticed. And between the World Cup, you can lean into the messy side of things and the player decisions. It's incredible to see the trajectory of soccer in North America. And then when you look over the next, 5-6 years and what's going to happen here, I mean, it's happening in North America, but the most important part is happening in Atlanta.
If you were to look back to your first day at work, first time you were here, that's a week and a half ago.
Okay, you're talking chapter 2.
No, I'm talking
chapter 1.
I want to
either one.
I want to compare chapter 1 to chapter 2. When you came in chapter 1, day 1, hearing what you heard, career suicide, all these kinds of things, and you view those kinds of things as a challenge. And athletes always like to have challenges in whatever factor of life they have. Then you leave, then you come back. You compare day 1 version 2.0 of you to day 1 version 1.0 of you in the business world. How has it changed, and how, when you look at the growth, has it blown you away, the exponential growth that we've seen, whether it's here in Atlanta or within the sport in and of itself? What's it been like if you compare day 1 version 1 to day 1 version 2? What's it been like?
Right. Wow. Can I follow that question?
We had some mood music for you as well.
Okay, I was saying, so day 1 when I came in, there was 5 of us.
Yeah.
I think there was 5 people that were considered full-time Atlanta United employees. And the most important thing, like for us, was we were now, we had an incredible owner in Arthur. Probably I would say the best owner in sports that believed in soccer. But yet we were tossed into a football dominated world and to a Falcons organization. And so it was getting them to buy into it. So for me, remember those first few weeks and months, it was, all right, if we can get the employees that are working here that are Falcon, like football guys, to buy into soccer and believe in this, we got a fighting chance. And so that was my mentality initially. And then I remember looking at them too and saying, hey, this isn't about selling tickets or selling jerseys. We're going to create a club. That's going to be as a result of people wanting to be a part of this Atlanta United club. We're going to sell tickets and jerseys. So I remember the ticket guy looking at me like, this girl should be fired. But again, it was, if we can get buy-in from these diehard football guys that were hired to work football and now I get them to be fans, we got a chance. And then you fast forward. And I think I was having a conversation with someone earlier today that was my second day back was the Columbus playoff match here. And I'm talking second day back in Atlanta. And I had just flown across the country with, partner and baby. My God, let me go check out the match. And I just want to go walk. I don't want anyone to know I'm there. I don't want anything, make a big deal of this. It's just like, I just want to see what it's like. And I got to tell you, like, for me personally, it was almost like a blackout between when I left in 2020 and just came back. And I couldn't tell you what happened in between because I thought I was focused on my, kind of the next chapter of my life. And I came back and I'm walking through the stadium, and it was just this energy that was there. And you'll hear people talk about the struggles and the up and downs of Atlanta United. But man, like, I felt like I had a flashback, and there was diversity, there was energy, there was hype, there was excitement in the game. And so it was pretty powerful for me to see. And it was, man, this place has got it. And regardless of whether you win or lose, this game's going to survive here. So I went from, I got to get these guys to buy into it so we have some resources and help, to holy smokes, the sport is part of the city now.
How does that mindset change in your role now, overseeing the business side of it? It's not a startup anymore. It's not maybe a fully formed long-term generational business either. It's kind of in, I guess, that in between.
Toddler.
Okay, fair enough. How does the process change? How does the mindset change from startup to now?
Right. Well, I think there's two mentalities that you have to bring to it. Is one, you have to think, if we internally, and even you guys, if you're starting to get sick of something or sick of hearing about Atlanta United, it probably means people are just now starting to hear about it.
Yeah.
So even though we're in the toddler phase, there's still so much opportunity. You can't tell me that this metro area of 6 million people, everyone knows about us yet.
Yeah, it's true.
So you still have to have that grit and energy, and you have to have the willingness to show up in unexpected places and unexpected times, but in the right places at the right times. And so that connection with the community and to be on the streets, that's what this club was built on, and it's what it will continue to be built on. You're not going to get away from that. You can't just expect people to show up. And it'll be that way for years to come. We want to be woven into the community. So I think for, the business mentality back then is, just one giant pub crawl. I think you guys have heard that a ton.
Mentality, yeah.
Yeah, that's why you can't share stories, because it was one giant pub crawl.
Fair enough.
But that's some of that still bodes true today, where you got to show up where people are, and you got to show up where people are. And I'm not going to sit there and compete with, a guy that is his favorite team is Chelsea. I'm not going to compete with that. I'm just going to look at him and say, hey, you live here, come give us a chance and come join and come have some fun with us. And you can still cheer for them. And they're your number one. For this, we're okay being your number two. But I think what's more important is it doesn't matter if you love soccer. You can still be a part of Atlanta United. And that's for us internally at Atlanta United, I think that's what we really try to live by, is it doesn't matter if you love soccer. You can still be a part of this tribe.
And at the same time, I
want to continue on that thread for just a second,
because
that's something that's fascinated me about being part of this. Is I felt like a lot of soccer clubs, and I've seen it firsthand in Atlanta in the past, it was only trying to go to the soccer people. And you guys at the very beginning always had that mindset of being there for everybody. Was that a hard sell? Was that difficult to accomplish, to be able to go out and talk to the football fans and talk to the basketball fans and talk to baseball fans? Because a lot of soccer teams haven't done that approach.
Right. Soccer's intimidating. Like, if you don't know the game, it's intimidating.
It can be, yeah.
And so I think what's really important is, my generation. So we'll say, I'm just going to go with the over 38, which is giving myself a few years. In that age range, you generally had folks like, we might have known someone that played the game, or you may have played in a video game. You look at the next generation down, like, it's literally just about everyone, if you think about it, you're connected to the game in some way, shape, or form. So whether it's through video games or your cousin played or you've seen it at your high school, you've seen it somewhere. So there's more of a connection there. And so I think that, for us, that same mentality is going to bode true. It's not just about the soccer fans, and you've got to make sure that it's not intimidating. People might even hear like supporter conversations and they look at it and they think, oh my God, that is wild. Look at the flags, look at the beer, look at the jumping. But I think it's about accepting people into the community. And that's what makes soccer different than any other sport, is it doesn't matter if you know the game or not, you're accepted in. And so for us, it's still about that. It's still about making the game accessible and making people understand. You don't need to know what's happening. You may not need to know all the rules. You can still be welcomed in, enjoying the excitement of the game. And then you're subconsciously going to start learning the rules. You're going to start understanding the game a bit more. They're going to start listening to the Jason Longshores that are giving the analytical, rundowns of the game. And then suddenly they're going to it's infectious. And so I think it's about tapping into the passion that people have, like you, Jason, and getting people that may be intimidated by the sport. Just if you can get them in the doors, they see how fun it is.
When it comes to the day-to-day strategy of trying to stay ahead of the curve, how much of a challenge is that? Because for something that, we're talking about Atlanta United on the whole, soccer on the whole as a sport, it's something that is growing at 100 miles an hour at times. And I would imagine where strategy is concerned, you have to do simultaneously. You have to learn from the lessons of yesterday, still act in today, and make today as successful as possible, but still think down the road about how you want to be successful a year, 2 years down the road, the 5-year plans, all those kinds of things. How difficult is it to juggle all three aspects of that, the learning, the present day, and then the planning, so you don't get caught behind everybody else that's trying to pass you by in a business sense?
Yeah, it's really easy to be reactive. I think one thing I actually have in my office posted up is what our mission is. And you want to be the best and most passionate club in the world. And so to look at that every day helps to reset my brain of, all right, here's where we need to point the team. We need to make sure, especially right now, when you look at Atlanta, you've got Copa America coming this summer. You got She Believes coming this spring. Go back to U.S. soccer being announced in September. And I'm going to backtrack even more. You had the World Cup being announced. So you look at 2023 and all those announcements, and then you look at the things that are coming here. And then there's so many other global events that have the possibility to come to Atlanta. Part of that for me was the excitement about coming back to Atlanta, is there's the promise there. And so for us, you have to look at those. You have to know what your goal is or your mission is, and then you have to know what your North Stars are, and then not be afraid to fail. And so for us, it's about trying certain things, learning from them, and then picking up and moving forward. Now, if we do the same thing twice and fail, we look like Muppets, so that's not going to work. But for us, it is staying, you got to make sure that you're satisfying the people right now, but more important is making sure you're prepared for what's coming in the future. And so I can tell you, we're already looking 2 and 3 steps ahead and hoping that, while there's some events that haven't been announced yet, we're trying to think, and in our brain, we hope that they end up in Atlanta. And if they don't, the worst thing that happens is we're still prepared to celebrate them, because it's still soccer in North America.
With all these events coming to Atlanta, I know it creates opportunities, but does it create challenges to stay out in front with a World Cup, with potentially a Women's World Cup and a Club World Cup that might happen, with Copa America, with all this excitement about international soccer? Does that create a challenge for a club in the city?
No, to me, it doesn't. To me, it's not challenging. And the reason it's not challenging is anytime you can play the game and you have events that bring people together, is just it's a chance for people to hear you, and it's a chance for people to be running. Just like, what we're doing right now. You're not going to stop doing it. You're going to take advantage of every single event that comes along, and you want to show up there. And it's to show up to bring people in, and you might only get 1 or 2 of them, but that's 1 or 2 or more than you would have had before. And there's so much momentum behind the city of Atlanta and behind soccer in Atlanta that, we want to continue to be out in front and at the forefront of it.
You mentioned looking at that phrase every single day you walk in the office. When it comes to the other phrases that stick in your brain, whether it's, it could be like, Sun Tzu's Art of War or something like that, whatever catchphrases. I'm serious, man. There are business leaders that have that book in their office. What other phrases are part of your tent poles when it comes to your philosophy in business and dealing with people and those around you and those outside Atlanta United? When it comes to your philosophy, where did that come from and who sticks in your mind?
Yeah. So yes, the mission is up there, and not to fluff or plug Atlanta United, but I actually do have Unite and Conquer. That's in my brain, because I think it bodes true in our everyday lives too. You want to bring people together and you want to overcome things together. So, that's a mentality too when you're working with the team and trying to tackle a problem, or if it's, even thinking about, an event or a party, you want to bring people together and you want to overcome something and celebrate it. So, that's something that I see there. I mean, the other things that I look at for me is all about empathy and being kind. And there's other, again, I don't want to sit here and, sound like I'm trying to plug the organization, but I think Arthur, I was in a very fortunate position where I came into Atlanta United initially, pretty green. Then I had an incredible opportunity at Adidas, and I actually got to know a lot of the owners around the league, and in other sports as well. And Arthur is truly one of the best owners and best businessmen in sports, and I would say in the world. And the values that he lives by are putting people first, innovate continuously, listen and respond. Those, while they're not phrases that you might see in a book or framed on a wall, those are things that I listen every day because they're important. It's how we should operate every day.
So we've got you for about 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
I want to flash back to flash forward as we wrap
go.
up. So I always tell people that the day that I felt like this is really going to work and be big was the first preseason game in Chattanooga, where
a long time ago
there were so many people in kits, and I'm like, we haven't played a regular game yet, and people are already this into it. This is crazy.
That's where we launched the Strawberries and Concrete.
Yep.
I don't think that's the official name, but that's what I hear people call it. So.
I will also say that is still, but the new one is really close. That is my favorite secondary kit.
We should start a poll. Let's see.
Everybody's got a different answer.
Or disagree. Yeah, everyone. You can never make everybody happy.
Everybody I've talked to has had a different answer to that question. It's been fascinating.
Chattanooga.
Was there a moment for you that it clicked and it felt like this is going to work? This is going to be big.
A moment that I think every time that I had shown up to the stadium, and there's actually a young woman that's still on the team that we hired initially when I was there, and she's still there today. I would show up at matches through 2019 season, and I'd get nervous that people wouldn't show up. And I think that actually fuels my energy and my own drive, as well as the team's drive of you can never rest on your laurels if this is going to work. I think we always need to strive to be better. There's been moments that I've been incredibly overwhelmed and looked up and said, am I in North America or am I in the US watching soccer?
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
I think MLS Cup, it was the 76th minute. I still have a picture on my phone where I was sprinting around doing something. I'm in one of the concourses, and all of a sudden I looked up and it was like the Twilight Zone.
Oh, the fireflies when all the lights on the phone came on?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm in the concourse. And that was a cool moment too, by the way. There's literally not a single person in the concourse, not a single person buying a beer, buying a hot dog, walking to the bathroom.
Wow.
And it just gave me goosebumps, and I actually stopped and took a picture, and I was like, what's happening? It still gives me goosebumps. And then I walked through one of the tunnels, and I looked out, and the place was just packed. And so seeing that moment and how much it meant to Atlanta to win and to be in that moment, and we hadn't won yet. There's still a lot of things can happen in those last 15, 20 minutes. And to see that, I was like, this is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my life. And watching people that didn't know each other celebrating was a pretty powerful moment. But I still don't think, in my brain, I don't want to rest and say soccer's here and it's made it. I still want to continue to strive. And I think that's how the organization operates. But I do know it's here and it's here to stay, and it's only going to get bigger. I'll say the Columbus match, that playoff match, when I showed up unexpectedly, this past season, that playoff match, and I looked around, and it was just the energy that I felt, and the people, the smiles on the faces, and the age of the crowd. It was just pretty incredible. And this is doing something bigger than the sport, which is what you want this club to do.
Yeah. Nothing like having something bigger than sport that you can carry with you outside of a sports experience, because you don't know who you can touch when you get to share these kinds of experiences with people. When you get to see somebody that, whether it's in a meeting or line of work, or you're out in the community, And your first interaction with them, they might not necessarily have understood what Atlanta United was all about. Not just on the field, but off the field in the community. Then you might circle back to them, and the lights come on. What's it like for you to see the light come on for somebody that may not have necessarily gotten it to begin with, but with all the work that's done by everybody at Atlanta United to get those kinds of responses? What's that like for you?
I mean, for me personally, it's definitely gratifying, but I think it's even more gratifying when you get to watch the folks that have really bought in. So if it's, the supporters that are putting in so much time, energy, and effort into this, and they really drive the atmosphere. When I see them realize the impact they're having and how cool it is when you look at it at a really I'd say just like a high level, to me, there's nothing more gratifying than seeing the joy in their eyes, and to see the excitement. And then you see, when you look at then the players kind of look up, and it's holy smokes, this is soccer in MLS. This is soccer in North America. It's no joke. And so I think there's it's not just about me. It's about looking at everybody else. And I actually get more joy watching the reactions of other people. I even think about, Jason and Mike Conti. Mike didn't know, he wasn't a big soccer guy. Right. And now, whenever I hear him calling a game, it brings a lot of joy. And I hear the two of these guys together. It gives me goosebumps.
Thank you.
You guys are decent. I guess I said you're decent. Yeah.
Thank you.
Boom Yakamakis.
Yes. It's crazy when Yorgo says that his dad loves that more than anything to us. That was amazing. I want to finish with this. So I've said that the World Cup coming and everything else that could be, this is the biggest acceleration period of American soccer that we might see in our lifetimes. To have all the events coming and everything where it is now, because you didn't have this foundation before. Now you do. Now you have a World Cup, the biggest World Cup coming. We have a semifinal coming down the street, which is incredible. What are the things that you are most looking forward to about growing the off-the-field side of the club during this period of time where it's going to be crazy at times?
It's going to be crazy at times. Well, you can't grow off the field if you don't grow on the field.
True.
And you can't grow on the field if you don't grow off the field. So I think
true.
One of the evolutions since I've been back is watching the true integration between the soccer and the business side, and understanding, right, how do we get this on the right track of, winning games? You want to finish in the top four in the East. When you're talking about the Eastern Conference, there's an opportunity for us to do that.
Absolutely.
And what that means. And so, and getting even I'm not going to be happy if we make the playoffs. I'm going to be happy if we win in the playoffs. Yeah. And so I think I'm totally tangent on your question, but I think, for me, watching that evolution and getting that ingrained back in people's brains of winning is good, and you've got to off the field and on the field or hand in hand, and you've got to be great at both.
No, that's the key. And, just as much as we talked about this roster coming into this year, there's teams who are in positions to not be able to add pieces they want to add to make their team better because they have to sell somebody first. They just don't have the resources to do it, or they don't have the cap space. The way everything was constructed coming into this year, you had the team pretty much together week one in the preseason. And that's a big leg up.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a constant evolution. I think it still could continue to take some more time, but I think if you look at the roster right now, it's a pretty exciting roster. It's a young roster. You got the experience in the right places. You got some goal scoring folks out there. Yeah. So the party's going to be there. I look at it, the party. We can score 4 and give up. Sorry, goalkeepers. You can score 4 and give up 2. That's okay.
Yes.
It's a much more exciting party when there's a whole bunch of goals flying in the back of the net, and some wins happening too. And I think,
but a win's a win.
Yes, the wins are the number one.
Score more
I'll take
goals
the goals
than the other
second.
guy. Yes,
I'd like a lot of goals as well, but wins to me. See this thing go all the way and see some trophies. It's gonna be a fun year.
It'll be a fun year.
Thank you for kicking it off with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
You got it.
All right.
See, now
Kate Noftsinger.
we need to play the walk-off. Now, walk-off music in addition. Now.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that I am
I
not
cannot
from Bel-Air.
beatbox. I'm sorry.
No, there's no beatboxing, anything like that. So we'll play the music on the